perpetrator of misinformation during the pandemic has been the United States government. Now we have the definitive Cochrane review. What do you do with that review? Cochrane is the most authoritative evidence body in all of medicine and has been for decades. Do you just ignore it, not talk about it? Which is unforgivable, and that is the weaponization of medical research itself.
G'day, folks. How you going today? Hope you've had a good day. It's been a little bit chilly in Brisbane once again, but surely not nearly as chilly as other parts of the world, and probably a little bit warmer up in the Northern Territory. Tonight, the plan is to bring you David Lurnpa Cole, but I don't know where Lurnpa is at the moment. He is may or may not be in service, I guess. That could be part of the problem. He seemed to think he would be. They're setting up camp tonight for the first night of Lamarrama. The first Lamarrama tour, I believe, that is going to be sending people to, parts hitherto unseen. Let me share this with you. This is the page, the Lamarrama Journey. Now, I've put this up in the descriptions, I think in just about everywhere you're watching, but go to Facebook, go to YouTube, go to Rumble, you will find the link to this. Now, we mentioned last time David was on that we would try and organise a Voice of Freedom tour, if you like, with about 20-odd people. So the Lamarrama Journey is, I believe, 8 nights, 9 days. And if you are interested in doing that, there is only one spot available for the tour to happen, or one set of dates for the tour to happen, and that is in July. So if you happen to have nothing on in July and you'd like to come on a Voice of Freedom Lamarrama Journey, then come and join us. I'll be on that too. We will do shows as best we can from everywhere we go, and I'll film what we can, what we're allowed, what we're not allowed. We'll learn. It'll be a hell of a journey. I would really love to help bring this to you. And if you would like to be on the journey, fairly exclusive, there are only 20 places available. And we did talk about this, as I say, last time David was on. And I believe a number of places got snapped up then. So there are only less than 20, let's say, because I don't know exactly how many went. There are less than 20 spots available. Now, don't contact me. Go to the link in the description, and you will be able to find the Lamarrama Journey page. Go there, inquire there, and just let them know that you're part of the Voice of Freedom mob for the July Lamarrama Journey that David has been talking about with me. And I'm unsure of the cost. I want to say it's $1,700, $1,800. I think. I want to say that's what the cost is. But I could be wrong. Go to the website and have a look, and send in your inquiry, and I'm sure somebody from there will get back to you. David, as I say, is out on country at the moment, and may well be still pitching tents for all I know. They are half an hour behind us. The sunset would have been beautiful had he been standing in front of it. But anyway, he's got the links, and I'm waiting for him to join us. If he does, that will be absolutely exceptional. I wanted to show you something else tonight, which I'm pretty afraid. Well, I'm amazed at. This is the latest thing from Ford. I know. Does it look real? Do you really think it's real, Carl? Let's be serious. Could it be real? Maybe it's not real. Look, it is such a weird little thing that they have here that I can't yet discern if it is completely fake or not. You see, in the top right-hand corner, it says Ford of Europe, English. They are talking about an event that's happening at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, where they are putting out the very gay Raptor to redefine tough. Now, I don't know, folks. Well, I guess let's let you be the judge. I think if this is real, then this could well be Ford's Bud Light moment. Yeah, sorry about that. I must have buggered something up when I dubbed that over and put it out of scale a bit somewhere along the line. Here's an idea. Wouldn't you want one of those? I mean, I love the Ford Raptor. Never driven one. Got no reason to love it, but I love the Ford Raptor. That one over there on the left, I don't mind the red. Red ones always go faster. Isn't that what they say? But bloody hell. I mean, seriously. Could it be Ford's Budweiser moment? I ask you. Doesn't make me feel good to say that. Can I just say? Doesn't make me feel good to say that at all. But if it is going to be Ford's Budweiser moment, then it's a ripper. And apparently it's real. I see in the chat. Let me just go to the chat. Yeah, so Bumblebee guy. I heard this too. They've also got the F-150 Lightning electric utes coming our way. Now, they're going to be absolutely magnificent, provided you've got, basically your entire farm covered in solar panels so that you can keep the bastard charged so you can drive around the farm replacing solar panels. Because clearly you'll have no flocks, you'll have no herds, you'll just have solar panels. But you'll have an electric F-150. Fuck me. What are you going to do? Interesting question. What happens if you get an electric car bogged in the mud? Bogged to the nuts. All right? Bearing in mind that they weigh about 4 times more. What are you going to use to tow them out? Another electric car? I mean, here's a good test. If you only had 2 electric cars and one got bogged, how much load would the other electric car take trying to pull the other one out and still have enough battery to drive anywhere to get fixed? Or, to get recharged? I tell you what, if you know anybody with 2 electric cars and they're prepared to let us bog one, or maybe that's somebody, there'll be somebody stupid enough to buy an electric 150. All we need is 2 people. Buy 2 of them. See if they'll let us put it to the test. I have no doubt, an awful lot of torque, but they do not have load capability. This is why we saw in electric Formula One that they needed 2 cars. It was easier to build 2 cars than it was to figure out a system where they could swap batteries initially. I think that's changed now. Now they swap battery cells. But fucking electric F-150. God almighty. I don't mind that idea so much, Marianne. I think hydrogen has a future. I think part of the reason for the Hindenburg was to stop that future coming our way. I think there was an awful lot coming our way. the diesel engine powered pickup trucks even coming. Well, that wouldn't be such a bad thing if they came. I'm a bit of a Diesel Brothers fan. People will know what that means. I watch Heavy D a bit. Well, I used to. Don't get to see a lot of him these days, but used to really love it. I did see that he bought a Black Hawk. Nice to be a successful YouTuber. What can I say? He obviously does content where they don't take you off. That reminds me. I should put the banner up again for those of you who might be just a little bit confused about what's gone on. So there you go. None2k has been banned from YouTube for another 13 days now. So nothing going up there, no news whatsoever. I did get a few emails today from people, so I have pointed them in the right direction. So good evening to you guys. Hope you've joined us on Voice of Freedom or Voice of Freedom at YouTube, or if you've joined on Rumble for the first time, don't forget, like and subscribe. Apparently it has some kind of effect. I'm not exactly sure where, because YouTube suppressed my subscribers, well, solidly. I don't know how many of you actually get notifications. That might be a good sort of question to ask. I know a lot of people complain that they don't get notifications when they have them turned on when this show starts. So sometimes they don't get them until at least 24 hours afterwards. So we do know that there is certainly some screwing about with the system that goes on, and we've all seen some cases in spite of the system that we're using. There has been interference that nobody seems to be able to explain without, going to other areas. I had an interesting conversation today with, I've had a number of interesting conversations, can I tell you today, but it started out with a very interesting, very pleasant conversation today with someone people may well know as Quantum Brownie. Had a very interesting cup of coffee and a bacon and egg roll with him over breakfast. It was a really good chat. Very informative. Got to learn a lot about what their organisation or the organisation he's working with are doing, and all power to them. They've got a bunch of powerful researchers behind them, and they get together. They're very organised. They're quite meticulous in what they do. And interestingly enough, the collective were also working on something with QSI as well in the background, and didn't realise that we were doing something as well. So when we had our QSI show earlier this week, they've come forward and made themselves known, which has been great. It's nice to see that there are other people who are far deeper into it than I am, who can explain things a lot more and in great detail. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to find him coming up over the next little while, trying to tell us what's going on, or trying to explain to us what's going on. Just on QSI, I thought I had a bit of an epiphany moment today while I was driving to this meeting with Quantum Brownie. I thought that after the show, sorry, Glenn, let me just quantify. You're probably watching Voice of Freedom channel or the Voice of Freedom channel. You won't be watching the None2k channel because... yeah, I've got a few YouTube channels. I may have forgotten to mention one. So the epiphany moment that I was having, which I may now have forgotten. No, I was thinking about many of the reactions around the world to the QSI program the other day. I'm not saying just to our show, but there was information that was coming out in other places quite clearly. And Charlie Ward has popped up in conversations quite a lot. And I know from the feedback that I've received, every time I say those two words, Charlie and Ward, together, I receive a pile of emails saying, oh, he's a scammer, oh, he's a scammer, stay away from him, he's a scammer. Well, information received would indicate that he's been in the dark pretty much as anybody else who's been involved with the QSI thing. And while he is off the air at the moment for all intents and purposes, I believe for the next 2 weeks, there has also been movement on his web pages where he has, Vince confirmed to me today that he has indeed removed every QSI reference from the Charlie Ward online presence, if you like, including all the videos that he has done. And he was doing quite a few of them. Now, Charlie has his own reasons for doing that, and I'm not aware of his reasoning or why-fors of doing that. other than to say Charlie was part of a meeting with Quantum Brownie and others, and I think they presented enough evidence to make him be a little bit more circumspect, which is cool. My only question that immediately springs to mind, if that is in fact the case, is Charlie Ward is based, his popularity, his success to date has been based on his association with the White Hats, his close and NDA protected knowledge of the quantum financial reset and the quantum financial system. Aside from that, his knowledge of intel that might be more operations based, and between he and quite a few others, they've been able to provide a huge amount of intel that has hooked a number of people into this movement right around the world. Because he is such a successful podcaster, has an audience of over 20 million, I think. He is a natural target for anybody who wants to come along and try and sell something through the show to you. I don't think for a minute that Charlie sits at his computer all day and goes through every email or figures out deals on who can advertise in the program and who can't. I'm sure he has a team of people behind him that do that, and he at the end of the day nods his head and says, who's the next interview? He may have a bit more involvement, or his wife may have more involvement than that, but at the end of the day, there is infiltrators everywhere. But once again, I get back to Charlie's NDA, his many times stated obliquely and then directly connections to the White Hats. Why didn't they know this? If QSI is, and I say this still, if QSI is the scam that it currently appears to be, I've had no interaction from Emily or Whip, although I've had a lot of interaction from people who tell me that Whip or Whiplash 347 has not been part of the Whiplash site now for some time. And I'm talking like a lot of months. There was a buyout he was bought out essentially, and taken over. By whom is unclear at this stage. And if there was a buyout at all is unclear. But I have had a lot of intel from people who claim that Whiplash, or at least the original Whiplash that most of us would know and love from Telegram, in the early days, the Whiplash that was full of good intel and very, very, very little crypto advice, that Whiplash gone a long time ago, and the channel was taken over by someone else. There are people better than me looking into how that and who that might be, and all the associated bits and pieces to it. So all power to them. Transparency, in my view, is key if we are going to grow forward as humanity. We must be able to trust what we are being told by our media. We must be able to trust what we feel. And at the moment, I think we have had our ability to interpret our own feelings subdued. We've had them brainwashed out of us. We've had them drugged out of us. We've had them, taken out in so many different ways, from illness through to, like I say, brain manipulation, brainwave manipulation. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care. You're probably at the wrong channel if you don't believe it. We're at that point where we don't trust government. We don't trust authority figures. We don't trust anybody. I had to stop the chat I was having today with Brownie. I didn't stop it, but he knew that I'd lost attention on him because 2 police had arrived and were walking up the footpath toward me. And my first instinct when I have a policeman come walking towards me is to look at their uniform very closely. For a variety of reasons we don't go into, but I look at their uniform very closely. It can tell you a lot about the kind of policeman that's walking towards you. So there are little things like that. Now, we have that level of distrust in our council, our teachers, our authority figures, our leaders. How can we as humanity move forward with such distrust at every level of our community, our country, or our state and our country? Well, we have to reestablish the trust somehow. And as doing it with the current governmental systems in place doesn't seem like it's going to actually establish anything other than a deeper state, a one world government, a 15-minute city for us to beg our existence out of. And bear in mind, they will only need to do that for 2 generations, right? 2, 3 at the most, because there'll be nobody left. They'll be killing us off at a much earlier age and at a less productive age. Those of us that get sick, view it this way, a bit like the way they view taxes and hospitals now. They will give you all the help you can through Medicare, and even though that's been pared back a great deal, and they'll allow you to bring in whatever specialist you want to pay for, all above yourself. But at the end of the day, you are still paying taxes, and they want you to go back and keep paying taxes. Because if you, let's say at 25 years of age, and they bet on you and are betting on you to pay, I don't know, $1 million worth of tax or more over your lifetime, and when they use that as compounding interest and yada, 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 it's worth quite a lot of money. But at 25, you go out with a few mates, or better still, at 18, you go out with a few mates, get in the back seat of a car. One of them has been drinking. He gets in the front seat, drives, smashes into a gum tree, and leaves the 18-year-old in the back seat a quadriplegic. Not dead, but needing help for the rest of their life. Now, their earning capacity has gone from whatever it was to net their taxable gain, the bit they bet on. That person may well have, invented something magnificent, gone on to make millions. Might still go on to do that, but it'll be under a different betting frame. Because all of a sudden that line ends, because the potential out of that person is seen to immediately be altered. Not necessarily diminished, but altered. Other people will then go and work on those folks who might be disabled and need help. But somebody who essentially gets turned into a talking head is difficult for them to use in a profitable manner. Do you understand? Like 70-year-olds now, once you go into hospital as a 70-year-old, and I've seen this happen with my father, I've seen this happen with both my fathers, if I'm truthful. One was a bit younger than the other. One was mid-70s, the other was late 80s. But in hospital, when you're over 70, they give you a fair go for the first few days or weeks, or a week that you're in. They'll give you a fair go. That means they will give your body a chance to show how hard it's prepared to fight to live with whatever ails you. They'll give you the basic medical attention that you need. They're not going to do anything more. They're not going to do anything over and above. They're just going to make sure that you're okay. Because at the end of the day, the more money that they have to spend on you is a cost to the cabal, the deep state health system. Okay? Every x-ray, every hospital visit, every pill, everything is a cost, particularly in hospital, that they're happy to incur, provided you still have a lot of super with them, provided they call it collateral, you still got a home loan, all that sort of stuff where you're requiring to keep the money coming in. But if you are now a self-funded retiree and over 70 going into hospital, then there is no mileage in you, in them helping you get older. The sooner you die, the sooner they get access to whatever your estate will be and their portion of it. That's why a will is so important, folks. If you don't have one, a will is so important for that reason, because these cabal bastards will come in and take your entire estate and divvy it up amongst themselves and say to the family. So they can still try and do that with a will, depending on the person you are. So Go and get a will sorted. I know it means talking to a lawyer. Maybe prepare your own will following the advice of their courts. But I'm sure eventually, when we get our courts in place, I guess disputes around wills will be a bit easier to sort out, because they'll be done so in front of a jury of your peers, not, what they currently do, which is a bunch of bastards, if you ask me. Sunflower, what awful, 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 awful experience. My father, my adopted father, and this is where the confusion might reign for some people who don't know my history, my adopted father went into hospital with a number of different complaints. He wasn't a well man, and he did have, some terminal problems. However, one of them wasn't a hole in the lung. One of the issues that he did have caused something, fluid on the lung to develop, pneumonia or thereabouts. And he was in a hospital that is a teaching hospital. And we arrived one day to the news that they were going to have to drain all the fluid out of his lung. Okay, great. Doesn't sound like it's a pleasant thing, but all right, great. 2 days later, we were informed, or Dad had been informed by the doctor, who stood at the door to tell him, oh, by the way, you've got a hole in your lung, probably lung cancer. Just really surprising, new hole in your lung. Now, my old man was at a point where he probably was happy enough to go, and that bit of news was enough to tip him over the edge. And those of you who've been close to someone who knows they're going to die and they're ready to die, there is a point where they give it all up, and they're very accepting of it. Well, he reached that point then, right? At the end of what had been probably 18 odd weeks, 10 of which or 12 of which had been in hospital. So you can understand that he was pretty happy about that. But to suggest that he had lung cancer and a whole, from lung cancer, I found just that little leap of faith too far. Being a teaching hospital, what do? Well, you let people put holes in people's lungs to drain fluid out for the first time. If they push a bit hard, you get a hole in your lung. Of course, the hospital wouldn't want to admit that, and that's partly why I haven't named them. But they didn't, and admittedly, some people are harder to get along with. My dad could have been one of those people in the hospital. He didn't want physio. He didn't want help. He didn't want this. He didn't want to talk to people. Didn't want anything. So they were quite prepared to just let him hurry up and die. But I have seen others who want to live, who do have the desire to live, but who aren't necessarily aided as hard or as possible as they could be, simply because the return on investment isn't there. If you've got to spend $30,000 to get a brain tumor out of somebody's head, and at the end of the day, that person's on a pension and receiving government benefits now anyway, and had been for some years, where's the benefit to the system to have them live longer? I mean, the cabal system, the health system, forget about the family system. And I realize that's a devastating thing to believe that health practitioners and professionals might do. But they will say, oh, that's what the health department said. We have to do things this way because the health department says we have to. And the health department says, well, we have to do it that way because the government says we have to do that. Once again, we get down to trust and trusting people in government or not. Well, I don't think I can trust government. I don't think I can trust many of the people who are currently in our authority-driven positions. I also don't think there's too much I can do about it, other than help try and educate other people, like your good selves, and in the hope that we together can educate a lot of other good people about how to get things done. We might start off by educating people, showing them something that came out in 1956, and, well, show them this.
Yes, the future certainly looks bright, but it isn't without its darker sides. According to some predictions, obesity will likely run rampant, and political corruption will become so commonplace as to be accepted. People with nothing entertaining or informative to say will broadcast their demands for attention, and once beloved performers will become pushers of snake oil. Perhaps worst of all will be the emergence of a deadly and potentially devastating disease. Think of the last time that you contracted influenza. You were likely bedridden for days, having no appetite or desire to play games. Experts predict that by the year 2020, a new virus will rise, spreading from somewhere in Asia to the rest of the world. And with international travel being available to even the most common citizen, a sickness which would have been contained in years past will quickly spread to all corners of the globe.
"1956 that came out. So clearly, for at least that long, there have been videos coming out telling us a bit about what's going on. Previous shows, I've shown you the Mickey Mouse video where Mickey Mouse is putting the holes in the Swiss cheese using his penis. Something that's shown in plain sight, one of the very early. And I got to thinking the other day, and I haven't gone and looked it up, but, you know, if you're at all inclined to, I'd love to hear what you find. Do you remember what the name of the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon was in 1937 or 8, I want to think it is? Steamboat Willie. Just after the Swiss cheese thing, I'm wondering if there is, and that could well be part of the Steamboat Willie cartoon, that Swiss cheese production line. I don't know. But have a look if you do dig that up. I can try and dig it up again and show it to you another night. But have a look in the background and watch the other animals watching and leering and drooling. And it's absolute bloody filth. Not unlike our LBQGPAP thing that I'm a bit concerned about happening at the Moreton Bay Shire Pride Fest. LBG2TQP plus is how they're putting it up. In fact, I think I still got the graphic from last night. So if you missed this, have a look. LGBTIQAP plus performers. I'm not exactly sure what the P stands for, but in previous participatory papers, it has definitely stood for pedophile. So I'm not exactly sure if the Park Fest, Pride Fest is putting that forward. If that is the case, I would suggest they're probably one of the first in the country to be doing so. Little bit of a shock to the system, I would have thought. Not something I would be particularly keen on propagating. Just having a bit of a look here at something else. I could play something that I was talking to you about, I don't know, a couple of days ago. It's about getting the chip in your hand, right? And I said that there was this video flying around that was trying to convince you and show you just how cool you would be. Found it.
I put a microchip in my arm and it's the best thing ever. This chip is a powerhouse. It's got everything I need. A credit card, my ID, my medical info, and even my keys. And when it's time for groceries, you just tap your wrist and bam! Transaction done. It's like magic. In a medical emergency, it can save my life. Experts can easily identify me and my medical history. I feel like a sci-fi character and I'm loving it. This amazing chip is totally free. That's right, no more digging into your pockets. And the best part, the surgery is quick. They'll give you a cookie afterwards.
Surgery is quick and we'll give you a cookie afterwards. The weird bit about that is that parts of that backdrop look like Melbourne. But yeah, it's definitely out there, folks. And that is going onto your TikTok where your kids are going, oh, gee, what a great idea. How easy would that be? How would it, oh, look, Mum, you won't have to transfer money to me. Just walk over here and bump wrists. You know, that's what it'll come down to. You'll have a pre-agreed bump limit, you know, $10, $5, $20, you know. I don't know. Just stay away from that one too, folks. And yes, notice there's been a lot of pushback around 20-minute cities in the last little while too, which I've found interesting. The talk that happened yesterday with Max has raised a number of interesting questions in my email feedback about the surveillance that was installed on us during the coughing period that they inflicted, where we had to stay indoors and away. Now, that infrastructure, as we pointed out, is not the way or not the first infrastructure you would put in if you were being quite legitimate in what you were planning and open about what you were desiring. What they have done is put in the surveillance system and the mechanisms to put in, you know, blocking barricades out of escape areas or travel zones, if you like. And they're just not telling you the other part of it yet. They haven't put the walls up. They haven't put the barriers up. But just think, if you've ever been to the Gold Coast for a V8 supercar or an Indy race, if you live on the Gold Coast and you live in that main beach surface paradise sort of area, how long does it take them to erect the debris fences around the track? About a month. Now, for everybody who is living inside the Indy track or the V8 supercar track on the Gold Coast and is effectively fenced in with a road separating them from another fence to the outside, the track area, if you like. What if they decide to keep you in there? Because there are cement barricades that go across your driveways, and your electric F-150 isn't going to shift one of those if you could get it down the driveway and parked anywhere in that part of the world. No, you're most likely going to find a lot of Teslas or a lot of Sparks or a lot of Leafs, which aren't going to stack up terribly well when you run them smack first into a 3-ton cement wall barrier. Although they might make a half-decent fist, depending on how fast you are going, at bouncing over the 4-meter debris fence, rolling all the way. What happens if 3 blocks outside the track precinct, while everybody's having a great time inside the track, they erect more barricades, so making the ring outside of the track a little bit bigger? And yeah, there'll be nightclubs there, and there'll be accommodation there, and there'll be food, and there'll be all the things you need, except an exit. What if they move that and expand that further up, you know, north into Labrador, south down into Broadbeach, west out to Nerang? How long would it take? How much fencing would they need? Maybe that's the holdup. They haven't got enough fencing. So it could be done, and it could be done under the guise of just about anything. And initially, the only thing you need to do is put somebody with lots of very large and very powerful weaponry on every street and stop people driving around, regardless whether you're electric, petrol, or diesel powered. And they can do that. They've got enough people to do that while they figure out what they do about the barricades. So just something to bear in mind, or maybe think about, not bear in mind. I only speak in hypothetical terms when I talk about this sort of stuff. But, you know, I think anything's possible. Yes, Brad, you are so right. Convenience is going to kill us. And I think you pointed this out the other night. Convenience is absolutely our worst enemy. Convenience, oh God. It started with television, and remember how it became the convenient babysitter for kids of my generation, I guess. we then used it as the convenient babysitter, but for our kids, but their kids have got electronic devices. They don't have to go and beg for TV time in a one TV house, or fight for it, or cry for it, or scream for it. They have it all there, right in the palm of their hand, right there in front of their face the whole time. How many, count yourself, how many electronic devices do you have? You know, what are you watching me on now? Could you watch me on however many other devices? Could you listen to me on how many other devices? Well, look, those kids, that's all they know. We know that there are other things in the world. We know there are tree swings and, you know, water holes and, you know, bikes to ride, mountains to climb, knees to skin. But most kids these days will tell you, you know, the latest and greatest deal with Minecraft. So, and does anybody else find it intriguing that the biggest game for kids is Minecraft? It's about digging holes in the earth. And yeah. Anyway, that may not be what it's about. I could be paraphrasing there because I've never played Minecraft. So, folks, if you could like and subscribe, whatever you're doing. Yeah, Crunch, well done, mate. Thank you. If you could like and subscribe, whatever channel you're watching, that would be a big help, folks, just to let other people know and beef up the numbers a little bit. The main channel that I work off is None2K, and it has sort of 10.5 or maybe 10,700 now subscribers on it. The rest of them don't have anywhere near that sort of number. But I do know from the amount of views, particularly on YouTube and Rumble and Project Matilda, who are doing a great job. If you can go over and join Project Matilda, if you haven't already done so, please go and do that. It all adds up. And at the end of the day, I'm not really about gathering numbers and supporters and subscribers. But apparently the algorithm helps share things out. I'm pretty much given up all that idea too. If you're going to think I've got anything worth saying, then you're going to have to share the link yourself, I think, and pray that YouTube honor it when the other person clicks on it. Because I have absolutely no faith in the evil bastards. In fact, I sent in my review, or I looked at my review. They pinged Max and I on medical misinformation. I didn't even bother writing anything towards, you know, trying to defend what we'd said, because under their terms and conditions of use, which have changed, they only have to follow whatever the government's word is, and the government the World Health Organization and the UN are saying, and of course they haven't changed their tune a great deal. So I just sent in where you can make a comment or you can submit your defense. I just typed in, I wonder if the YouTube AI can calculate how much rope will be required to hang the human YouTube professionals responsible for allowing this. I just got the standard, we reviewed your complaint and we're not going to do anything about it letter. But somewhere, one day, somebody will get a chuckle out of that, I hope. I think the AI would bust a foofer valve trying to figure it out. Let me have a look. What else is going on down here? It doesn't look like David's going to join us tonight, unfortunately, folks. Actually, my phone has just beeped. Let me have a look and see if that was him. Unfortunately not. Might be the foibles of the Northern Territory, unfortunately. We'll see how we go. I imagine if there is any opportunity in the next day or so, he will get a hold of me and we will reschedule, because it's important we get this happening if we can. If you are at all interested in going to Lamarrama, and let me go back to the website, share that one up, you can see that there is a contact. Put your details in there and send all that off. Just let them know you want to be part of the July Lamarrama tour with the Voice of Freedom, and all that should work. Actually, if I click on Journey, we might be able to see a little bit more about it. I'm particularly impressed that we are going to be allowed onto land that hitherto has never been seen by many black fellas, let alone any white fellas. it's a cultural event. It's all about learning about the culture and connection. I had a conversation yesterday with David for maybe half an hour or so. I learned more in that half an hour, so much more in that half an hour about the Dreamtime and song lines than I'd ever known before in my life. I learned more about tribal totems than I'd ever learned in my life. And one of the stories that I was going to ask him, and now in hindsight, I will wait to ask him before I tell you what I was going to ask him. See, this is one of those moments where you don't know what you don't know. David told me something yesterday about a certain ceremony that needs to be performed if an animal is killed and used for food. Only one particular animal. Now, if that particular animal is killed and prepared in an incorrect manner, the punishment for that could be quite severe. So that was one interesting story. Another was an interesting story about how the mountains are involved with the certain totems or the animals that live in those mountains. And there are certain animals that can be found in different parts of the country. For instance, warrior animals, using crocodile as an example. So crocodiles can be found from the Kimberley across to, Rockhampton, as it turns out. Now, does that make everybody, the different clans of Aboriginal people spread between the Kimberley and Rockhampton? Does that make them all interrelated? Well, some of them, yes. They are related by their crocodile warrior totem. They have very similar or the same songs. And if a gathering came together with clans from all over the country, then those people within each of the clans that identified as crocodile, or as a form of crocodile, as I understand it, I could be paraphrasing here, and God help me if I'm getting it wrong, then they know similar songs. It's like they are meeting their cousins, their brothers and sisters from, across country. And they share those songs amongst each other. And then, of course, as these groups travel back to their lands, they mingle with other groups. The song lines change, mingle, interweave, mimic in some cases, but always tell a story. It's an amazing... I've probably explained this in the worst and most incorrect possible way. And my deepest respects to those people who know the stories much better than me. And I've probably explained this so bad. And it's why I don't get into this subject a lot, because it's a bit like, I guess, crypto to me. I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know, by talking about something, if I'm going to upset a nation of people, or half a nation of people, or 11% of the people, or not. And my desire is certainly not to upset anybody, but my desire is to learn. And sometimes that learning process may involve me screwing it up at some time. So I hope that isn't the case with what I've just said. And David will come on, I'm sure, and clarify in the future. And on this Lamarrama journey, I think we will learn so much about culture and learn to appreciate the connection to country that is so important to every Australian, every Indigenous Australian. This is our country. And we have been deliberately kept from learning about how sacred our land is by divisive elements amidst us all. Keep the black and the white against each other. Keep them wary of each other. Keep them off their toes. Keep one as poor as you can. Try and keep the other as poor as you can, but only a certain percentage of them, because there's more of them, you see. There's more whites than blacks. So the poor percentage can be a ratio kind of thing. As disappointing as it is, that is as it appears to be. Happily, I can report that I think that's all going to change soon. How soon? God knows. But we are planning to be on the road, and that means that, well, if it happens, it's likely to happen while we are on the road, and that could be a great deal of fun. Could be winding up staying at one of your places for a little while. More to do on where we're going on the road. There is a southern trip that's being planned at the moment that will encompass northern New South Wales and areas down to the Blue Mountains. Then we will come back and go north again, and then we will go back south again, because who doesn't love driving, and head back over to South Australia. We were looking to try and get a little quick show in maybe in the next couple of weeks, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. There is also talk of a Brisbane My Place starting up, and John Wilson is all arms and ears about that. We've got some folks over here in my part of the world, over towards Moreton Bay, who are interested in getting something going along the coast. And from what I've heard, there are now 2 new ones starting up on the Gold Coast. It looks like I'm going to be on the Gold Coast on Friday night. So I'm going to get in contact with the My Place Gold Coast folks and see if there is a meeting being held on Friday. I'm not sure there is. I've got a sneaking suspicion it's on tonight. So if that is the case, folks, then Friday night probably won't be a show from My Place on the Gold Coast, but we'll find somewhere to do a show. At any rate, that's all things being equal, and me being on the Gold Coast on Friday. What other news do I have for you? Let me just have a little bit of a glance down, see if there's some questions. Yeah, I've heard that too. FCB has been saying that for a while. I think we've all been pretty much preparing for that. 1st of June, it seems a bit convenient. The 1st of June will be the first time the US government has to pay people out of a big fund, and bear in mind, government gets paid fortnightly. So they get paid on the 1st of the month, and they get paid on the middle of the month, or the 15th or something. Now, if they don't have enough money to pay the Army, Navy, Air Force, and every other bureaucrat and authority figure that is on the government tit, come the 1st of June, some areas of government will probably stop, because there'll be enough people who crack the shits about it to go, There will be enough people, I believe, in the authoritative areas, the police, to continue working because they have a sense of what might happen if there were no police on the street. Certainly some might refuse, but bear in mind, these police that are still left and walking around in their costumes are very deep state, very motivated to see the status quo remain, with us to be defeated. So there will be an element of those that will stay in the force. One would hope that will be overrun by an element of good that come back out under a white hat flag. I don't know. Same for the military. That's what's going to be required. And I think that's going to take until the 15th. I've also heard, be prepared for a new inauguration in July. Wouldn't July 4th be an interesting date for that? And if not an inauguration, then some form of announcement. So there are a lot of interesting dates, including tomorrow. Tomorrow is a key date for a couple of reasons, I want to say, to do with US Congress. I haven't got them at the tip of my tongue at the moment. I won't embarrass myself by trying to remember them publicly. I want to say that there's something to do with the US Congress tomorrow. There's another something to do with them on the 27th, which would make it Friday. So watch this space. This could be something that will trigger financial collapse, something that triggers, I don't know, great fear inside public servants or inside corporate government. Could it be something to do with Biden and the FBI. Obviously, the Durham report, which we have discussed, and if you haven't, we will go back to it. And Camillo, I've got to talk to you on a couple of levels. I just wonder how much of it if you have finished reading it, and whether or not maybe we can have a chat about that. The Durham report outlines in exquisite detail, exquisite, undeniable, fully proven, factual detail, exactly how the FBI spied on Donald Trump, exactly how the DOJ worked with the FBI and the CIA and a number of other three-letter agencies inside the American intelligence system to propagate lies, to create media stories that essentially hoodwinked the sheep that watched them. All proven in exquisite, minute detail, dating back to 2016 or prior to 2016, when I think the day started when he came down the elevator and announced he was going to run for president. But the thing many Australians have forgotten in all of that is we started it. We were at the start of all this. One Alexander Downer was the source of the Papadopoulos rumor that Hillary Clinton and crew used to start all this. Now, for those of you who are old enough to remember Alexander Downer, you might remember he has a penchant for high heels and fishnet stockings, but, well, that was alleged at any rate. There was certainly some very good political cartoons showing him that way at the time. Be that as it may, and I've been seen in fishnet stockings and high heels too, so I'm not casting aspersions. None of us think he's a smart man. And he had help. So think back at the time when Downer was our emissary to the UK. Who was our foreign minister? Could it have been Turdbull? Pretty confident it was. I think the red-headed clown might have been involved. I think she was still floating around in the background there somewhere. Oh, no, she was at the head of it then, wasn't she? Head of the snake. She was head of the global change UN initiative for educating women, or stealing women's rights, or some other piece of bullshit that she'd been paid off. She'd paid her way in, not paid off. She'd paid her way into the cabal with $385 million of our dollars given direct to the Clinton Foundation. I think overall she gave over 500 million, nearly closer to 600 million Australian dollars, our dollars, to the Clinton Foundation. That bought her UN seats, her UN notoriety. See, where Kevy Rudd fell down, he obviously didn't grease the right hands when he wanted to be king of the world. Remember when he ran to be king of the world at the UN? And nobody here in Australia would support him, not a sausage, no one. Well, that generally doesn't matter if you've got enough money to grease the palms of those that need greasing in the higher places of power, in the UN and the World Economic Forum and the International Monetary Fund and all that. Let's say, who do we know that had a lot of money, independent money, didn't need the government wage, didn't stop him taking it for years and years and years and years and years, still getting the pension. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of friends with a lot of money, a lot of friends in Goldman Sachs business, a lot of investors, a lot of money. Just saying, worthy looking into. Got nothing. I've got nothing. I'm sort of freewheeling thought here. But go and have a look. If you're into researching, go and dig deeper. Alexander Downer and Malcolm Turnbull's relationship around that time. And those around Turnbull, those around Downer. Because Downer wasn't smart enough to come up with this by himself. He got pushed. He got not pushed. He got primed So he would love being the center of attention for all that, I'm sure, till it blew up in his face. So I would be looking in that area if we're going to go into the Wayback Machine and see how things work. I'd be looking in that area, because Australia is at the hub. And if you know, John Wilson talks about Derek Johnson a lot. I've spoken extensively at various different programs about Donald Trump's executive orders. The executive order signed on the 12th of September, 2018, Executive Order 13818, or 848, I beg your pardon, which pretty much says that if a country is found guilty of trying to influence an election in any way, shape, or form, they forfeit all their assets, they forfeit everything. And that's just how it is. That's the end. You forfeit everything. The country forfeits everything. So Alexander Downer was our British Embassy head at the time. He told the lie that started the whole Steele dossier, Russiagate scandal. Proven, 100% proven in the Durham report. Outlined in exquisite detail if you are prepared to read it. If you aren't prepared to read all of the pages of the Durham report, and it's available at vofhq.com, just go there. Vince has posted it up. Just read the executive summary. It's only 9 or 10 pages long. It's easy reading for a lawyer type document, but it will give you the guts of it. And if you really want to find out the mechanics of how they did it, then you've got to read further down into the document. But if you just want to know what they did, how they did it, without going into great detail, then read the executive summary, which is only a few pages in, and everything will be enlightened to you. I especially wish that upon the trolls. Oh, did you like the new troll intro tonight? Asking for a friend. Let me know whether or not you thought that was good, bad, or indifferent. I got a bit of a laugh when I put it together, so I'm hoping you did too. Just having a bit of a glance through some of the comments. Yes, Joanna. Of course, there's the 33 Club at Disneyland as well. An entire apartment, if you like, that you can rent. But the 33 Club, you know, you can have big posh dinners in there and all sorts of special Disney things happen to you. Dodo is a dodo. You know, yeah. That's one word for him. I think that's the same. Julie Bishop. Well, there's another one, isn't that? And she even got an invite to Charlie's big event. She got to the. I think I want to say she got invited to the wedding as well. Pippa's bum showed her up. Yeah. Daryl, what great sentiment. Hi, everyone. I am always with you and love to hear all of you. I think that's just a great sentiment. And I know that so many people in the room feel that way. There is quite a family feeling that's built in the chat room of the Voice of Freedom. And I'm very grateful for that, because I very rarely get to participate. And it's wonderful to see that relationships are being built from all over the world. I'm not sure that Char is joining us in chat too often, but I received an email from someone named Char the other day in Cambodia, and Char wants to start a My Place in Cambodia. So I've sent him, on to Darren Bergworth, and I haven't spoken to Darren yet to find out what thoughts he's got on that or how we'd go about doing it. But I can tell you, if we get one up, we're up for a road trip. Who's coming to the opening of the Cambodian My Place? Pick me. We're going to head over and do that. Paul, yes, is the short answer. Yes. And look, if the executive order runs true to form, we are already the 51st state of America. We beat Canada by that much, but only because Alexander Downer was at the head of the lie, where it all started. So Canada will be the 52nd state. Yes, if you follow the executive order trail, if you follow what those orders mean, and I mean all of the orders that go through from that time on, he was quite prolific for a time, putting out executive orders that were forward-looking. He could rescind these executive orders if, at the time of the election, he was happy that, life, the universe, and everything was good. But the fact of the matter is, he put out 5 declarations of emergency, 5 national declarations of emergency, and submitted them to the Congress. And the Congress ignored 5 national emergency executive orders submitted by the President of the United States of America. That is completely unheard of. Instead, the Congress tried to impeach him, all based on lies. Remember Shifty Adam Schiff. Remember his Star Chamber-like inquisitions happening in the bottom of the Congress, the Capitol building. Remember the great stories. Oh, yes, there's much more to come. Oh, the whistleblower's coming out. We'll have the whistleblower here within days. The whistleblower will testify before us. Yes, you will be able to see the whistleblower testifying. Yada, 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 yada. Not one thing he ever said has come true. And now, thanks to the Durham report, you can see in exquisite detail the lies he told, and I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with it, but the bloody wonderful lies he's told. So follow those executive orders, folks. If you have any doubt, I say to the trolls, follow those executive orders. They will tell you what you do. And if you don't understand the Uniform Military Code, then go and look up Derek Johnson. Go and look up his breakdown of the Uniform Military Code. He gets a bit excited, but he is a country and western singer, former Marine. But one of the greatest aspects of what Derek does is his memory for the Uniform Military Code. What symbology in the military means, what words mean, what certain words mean, what certain actions mean, and definitely what happens under executive orders that trigger a military reaction, like a Congress ignoring 5 national emergency declarations by the President. They are given 12 months. I'll tell you what happens. They are given 12 months to do something, make a reply, get it all sorted, get underway. And if they don't do that, then the military can take over. Nowhere in any of those executive orders does it suggest that should the military have to take over because of the inaction of the Congress, nowhere does it say the military has to tell us it's done so. I think that's pretty significant. Maybe some people don't think that's very significant, but I think that is significant. Sandy, you wonderful lady. Baz's birthday today. Happy birthday to Baz. I was going to try and call you earlier. Somebody called me and talked to me for like an hour and a half, so I do apologize. But happy birthday to the big fella Baz. He's having his birthday today. At least I'm pretty sure it was his birthday message that I saw come through on something earlier. So happy birthday, Baz. And hello, May. That's the cute little thing at his ankle there. And I will be calling you probably as soon as I get off the show to have a talk about something else. Veronique is having a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Veronique. I love that name. Happy birthday to you for tomorrow. God willing, I'll be back here tomorrow. I can sing it to you maybe with accompaniment. Look out. Oh, yes, Brad. Oh, yes. Well, there is probably an element of that Daniel. And that's where we asked the question about leaping out of the frying pan and into the fire, I guess. This is where some folks' faith in the white hat Trump Q side will be required, because yes, America potentially could come and have some kind of a hold over our resources. 100% correct. They'd be fighting another civil war, but, you know, they've got a completely de-weaponized country they'd be fighting against. So, yeah. I did notice that one of the agreements that the meeting between Biden and Albanese in Japan came up with was an agreement to allow some form of mineral rights exploration sharing. There was something to do with the mineral rights in Australia involved in what they signed recently, and I do have the document somewhere. I've been trying to read it. It's even drier than the other shit. But my question there would be, yes, what happens to our gold? Because that would be the first one I think of, obviously, for a variety of reasons. But we have many, 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 many mineral wealth generators in our country. And of course, if this yes vote gets through, it's all fucked. It'll all be corporatized. However, if the global financial reset happens, if everybody's eyes are awakened, if, then it won't matter. It'll all revert back. Okay? If the white hat story that we all have coming our way comes our way, then it won't matter if we get robbed now, because what they rob from us now, we will get back. And the people who robbed it from us will be made punished for it. That is the same argument that I put forward to some folks today when we were discussing QSI. If there is somebody indeed at the head of this who is scamming and making a lot of cash out of other people's misfortune, or out of just, playing a shell game with the money and stealing it at every opportunity, then we are to believe the white hats and Charlie Ward and everybody else who's saying, well, they know it all. Well, they'll know that you're the bad guy, and they'll know that you've taken hundreds, thousands, millions, billions off people, and they'll know which way they're going to shoot you for it. Through the head or through the heart. Probably just put a blue dot in my forehead, did I? So I don't know. We got to wait and see, hey? Speaking of waiting and seeing, I've waited long enough, I think, to see if David's going to join us tonight. I can be reasonably confident by now that he's not. Might be reception issues out there, so we will reschedule and make that happen tomorrow. Not exactly sure what I'm going to be having on tomorrow night. There are two things in the offing, and we're... Thank you, Paul. Now, listen, I was talking to a woman today who is a very good singer, and she wants to sing a duet with me. Okay, might be a half a good duet by the end of it. But you might be surprised, Paul. Something with me singing could come on your screen sometime in the future, and you may indeed have to hit the mute button. That will be entirely up to you. Yeah, thanks, Adam. No, I'd always promised I would take my daughter to Disneyland, and God kept me broke enough never to be able to fulfill that promise. And she held it against me, trust me. I think if we were to go to America for any reason today, should God grant us the ability to do so, she would probably still want to go to Disneyland just to fulfill the promise. But my enthusiasm level at going to Disneyland wouldn't be to go for the rides and see all the toys. I'd be pointing my camera in different directions. So that's about the only way you'd get me to Disneyland, actually, to try and get a look at Disneyland. But just saying. Veronique sticking up for me, Paul. There you go. Thank you, Veronique. There you go. You've just heard worse people sing you happy birthday, or people sing you happy birthday worse. That's probably a better way of saying that. Donovan. Yes, I agree. If the current system were, just for people who might be listening to this, I should read this out. Donovan has said they will not let him or RFK Jr. win. They'll pull every stop and BS you can imagine and even more. Yes, they will. However, that's working under the current system that we see in operation and we have no trust in. So, yes, we would absolutely expect what you say to happen. I think by the time there is another election, RFK will be able to run in the clear. Trump will be able to run in the clear, and there may well be a couple of other runners. If they are going to have an election again, I don't think they can hold that election until they have 100% exposed, made sure everybody understands, cleared up, and tied up in a neat little bow everything from the 2020 election going forward. And that probably means the midterms in 2022, which just have become a shit fight all over the place. I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, most people should be aware, if they're not already, that the Electoral College, better than 70% of the Electoral College have pulled their support of the vote count, right? So Joe Biden can't actually be running a viable government, because if the Electoral College pulled all the vote or all the support, all their votes for Joe Biden, he does not remain president. It's all a movie. We keep saying it's all a movie, but sometimes you've got to look really, really deep to recognize it. The longer you've been in it, the easier it is to recognize. Sometimes the hints are very, very subtle. Well, the evidence is very, very subtle. Sometimes, well, I guess it's about as subtle.
Perpetrator of misinformation during the pandemic has been the United States government. Now we have the definitive Cochrane review. What do you do with that review? Cochrane is the most authoritative evidence body in all of medicine and has been for decades. Do you just ignore it, not talk about it? Which is unforgivable, and that is the weaponization of medical research itself.